Great. Okay, so hi everyone. Just wanted to welcome you all to our Making the Leap webinar, and we're really excited to have you here. And so we're going to jump into our presentation, then we'll have a Q&A session at the end, if that sounds great. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So let me share the screen. Go back and share that screen. And so. So this, let's get started with the webinar, and in doing that, first thing that I want to do is introduce ourselves. And Bonnie, you want you to get a little background about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Bonnie Goodman, and I've been a personal chef since 2010. I started my business after our kids left for college, and I work in Orange County, California, Southern California.
Great. And I'm Greg Goodman, Bonnie's husband, and I've been involved in technology and marketing for my whole career. And I've been working with Bonnie and when she was launching her business back in 2010. And what we've done now is taken all of that knowledge and experience and put it into our Personal Chef Now school. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I wanted to give you a little background on ourselves. Now, today, we're going to cover two things. Real briefly, we'll talk about what is a personal chef, and then we'll talk about personal chef roadmap. And this is something that you can follow to get your personal chef business up and running. And then we'll leave plenty of time for a Q&A. And at any time, you can always ask questions in the Q&A section. Matter of fact, real quickly, there's 3 ways that you can participate in this webinar. That you can click on the question Q&A button to ask questions, and we'll see those, and we'll answer them either as you ask them, or maybe wait till the end. If they're relevant to what we're talking about, we'll answer at that time. And then you can chat. There's a chat window where you can participate in chat, and I'll bring that up on our screen so we can see that. So feel free to type in there. And then we'll also have polls. And as a matter of fact, I think we'll start our first poll right now. And if you click in the polls section, the first thing is, why do you want to be a personal chef? I'm going to launch that right now, and feel free to just respond to that poll with your answers, and we'll just give you a minute to do that. Great, great, great. So I'll end the poll, and I think you can then see the results. That it's a little bit all over the place, but you know, a lot of people want to do what they love. Others people want to help others, and just having your own business gives you a lot of freedom too. You really have the opportunity to make it yours. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's now go back to our presentation. And we're going to start in the first part, which is what a personal chef is. And personal chefs, I mean, what would you say is a personal chef?
Well, a personal chef is someone who will, oh, sorry, our dogs. Okay. A personal chef, well, this is what I do, is I will meal plan for my clients. After we meet for an assessment, I kind of have an idea of what they like to eat. So each week I'll send them a menu, and they'll approve it, make changes. Anyways, a menu will be decided, and then the day of the cook date, I'll go shopping for them and head straight over to their home, cook for them, and then package it, and it's in their fridge. So they eat my food all week long, and then I come the next week and do the same thing. So, you know, I provide healthy meals for them, and they don't have to worry about it.
Great, Great. So, it's personal chef industry is relatively new, and it's emerging, and it's fast growing. I mean, I think you can see with things like Blue Apron that people are trying to explore different ways to bring food back to their home. And so people are turning to personal chefs to help them, because a lot of that knowledge of cooking and meal planning is now lost,
or they're just too busy too.
Yeah. So anyways, there's a lot of opportunities there, and a lot of people are turning towards becoming a personal chef. So, which leads us into our next poll question, and let me launch that really quick, is how serious are you about becoming a personal chef? And feel free to chime in on this one really quick. Okay, so let me quickly end that, and you can see that some of you are actually pretty serious about starting soon, and others are just getting, dipping their toe in the water and seeing what it's all about. So, but at the same time, and this will be our last poll question, is that there's a lot of challenges to becoming a personal chef. Some are real challenges, and some really aren't challenges when you come to think about it. But let me launch this poll. What do you see as your greatest obstacles for becoming a personal chef? And this will be the last poll we do. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the numbers trickle in, and this is pretty familiar. And let me share this now. And that is, a lot of people struggle with how to get their first clients and how to market themselves. And it also can be very overwhelming. These are all real issues that people struggle with. And a lot of that, you would get these questions when you were starting. I mean, for many years now, people come to you and ask about
how to get clients. How to get clients, that will happen. You just have to have a plan. For me, it was a good website. In Orange County, where we live, it's a nice place to be a personal chef. There's different areas around here, a lot of affluent families around here, and that's kind of where I market myself. But as far as having confidence in being a personal chef, I really struggled with that. They call it the Imposter Syndrome, and I experienced that. I didn't think that, although I cook for my family and friends, and they liked my cooking, to think that I was going to actually get paid money to cook for someone, it just puts an immense amount of pressure to
can you do it?
Yeah, can I do it?
So it's a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
But
you can. I'm here to tell you, you can. I never thought of myself as a great cook. I didn't love cooking from a young age, but it's something that developed over time. And yeah, you can definitely do it. I feel like if I can do it, you can do it. And getting over that hurdle of your first client, when that happens, everything will change. But yes, that first client will be nervous. And my advice to you is make sure you know how to make those dishes that first cook date, and make sure they're in make sure they are in your wheelhouse and that you're confident, and you'll be fine. But anyways.
No, I think that's perfect. And I think that really touches on is that all of these things are surmountable. All these challenges you can overcome. It's just having a plan in place. And that's why we talk about this roadmap, is this roadmap is a way to get your first client, is a way to get past all the tasks that you need to do to get up and running. So take a look at it and see what you think. So let's talk about the roadmap. And in the roadmap, the first thing that we like people to think about when they want to become a personal chef is developing a vision. What is your business going to be about? And the first thing that you can think about is your brand. And, you know, yes, you're not a huge corporation, you're an individual, but even as an individual, you have something about you that is unique. That is how you want people to be aware of your business, of how your style of either cooking or how you like to interact and the types of clients that you want to take on. And the thing with brands and successful brands are just as applicable to personal chefs. So the three things you want to think about is your brand aspirational, emotional, and takes a stand? So as a brand for a personal chef, do people feel better using you as a personal chef? And do people have that emotional connection? And do they respond to what you're about as a personal chef? So if you're about healthy eating, you know, maybe you're a whole foods, plant-based personal chef, that's great. Some people are going to really embrace that because you've taken a stand. Another thing, when you start thinking about the vision for your business, is who are your target clients? And I know at the beginning, you know, we've talked about this a lot, that in the beginning, your mindset is anyone that wants to use my service is my target client. And I get that. You know, you don't want to turn any business away. But you're going to find that there are certain clients that resonate much better with you than others. I mean, you find that's the case with you, right?
Yeah. You mean as far as the healthy eating part? Or?
Right. I mean, you have clients that you know very quickly on the phone that would work better with you or work better with a different personal chef.
Right, right. But, you know, then again, on my website, I clearly say that, you know, my brand is whole food plant-based, or it's healthy home style, and also allergies. So I specialize in those types of foods. And so healthy is kind of all over my website. And so when people want to eat that way, they will type in, they'll do a search on, you know, healthy personal chef, and then I'll pop up. So
yeah, so Bonnie firmly understands what her brand is and who her target clients are. So a lot of times you'll also know that the sweet spot for you are going to be families as opposed to individuals or couples.
Right.
Sometimes couples can work, but you know that if they're calling and it's a family, that these are people that typically are going to really like your services better than some of the others.
Right. And that's also where my confidence lies. You know, I didn't go to a professional culinary school. I attended a culinary school and took courses, but I didn't go through the professional course. So I don't, you know, I didn't have the confidence, I guess, maybe and didn't really want to do the fancy type of food. I knew what I wanted to do, which was
the healthy.
Right. Yeah. And because, you know, I cooked for my kids and their friends and our family, I was comfortable. I knew I can cook healthy food that your child will want to eat. And I thought I cooked well for our kids, and that's what I wanted to do, was cook for other families' kids who, you know, they weren't eating well. So that's kind of where my interest started.
So as you recognize that there are certain clients that are going to have, that you're going to have a preference for, and they're going to have a preference for you, it's a good idea when you're developing a vision for your business to think about who those clients are, where they're located, and how you can reach them. This is all thinking about what you're all about. And when you start looking through your branding, your vision, and your branding and your target clients, and really developing an overall vision, this sort of comes together in your story. And that's a story of your business, and that's a story that needs to, resonate with your target client groups. And so that's the goal of the vision, is to get that story in place that you feel comfortable with it. As Bonnie alluded to, it doesn't mean that you're overly confident. It just means that you understand what you're trying to do with your business.
Right. And your client, they just want you to cook the food that they want to eat. So, they like the fact that I'm more of a caring person and someone that wants to help them and really care that they eat well. They like that a lot. It means much more to them than having, than being the fancy restaurant type of cook. But there are people who want that type of chef for a party. They want to dazzle their friends, and so I'm just trying to say that there are clients out there for all types of chefs.
Perfect. So once you put that together in your vision and you understand who you are, then doing the rest of what you need to do to set up your business gets a little easier. It's a lot of times the big mistakes that I see are people rush into the design of their website or rush into trying to find their first client without really understanding who they are and what their business is going to be all about. So that vision step is very important. So next, we think about design and the design of your business. So what's going to be the name of your business? Are you going to have a logo? And if you select a name, is there a domain name available? Because your website is very important. Bonnie's alluded to is that your website becomes your first thing that your clients are going to see. And so you want to make it, you want to have something that's easy for them to find. And your name and domain name are the first things that you're going to have to think about. Another area is what type of legal entity. And a lot of times that can be really confusing, whether you want to be a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a corporation, an LLC. These are all legal entities that you need to think about. And we talk about in our course, Becoming a Personal Chef, what are some of the pros and cons of each. And, this is usually a lot of times at this point, you want to have somebody that you can reach out to that may be a friend of a friend that's a lawyer that can tell you. But for a lot of people, they want to go the easiest route, which is sole proprietorship. So there's a lot of different ways to go at it, but it's not something you can't figure out. You definitely can figure it out. Another thing to think about is insurance. You definitely need insurance. I mean, we joke about in the course that, here you are in someone's home that is like much more expensive than the home you're staying at, and more often than not, and you're dealing with oil and flames and all this stuff. What could possibly go wrong? So you want to have insurance. It's $500, $600 a year. That can be a lot of money for people, but the flip side is that if you have an accident, you would be paying much, much, much more than that. And it just gives you peace of mind. And also it gives your clients peace of mind when they know that you're insured, because it means you're just not some fly-by-night operation.
And when you think about it too, a couple cook dates will pay for that insurance. And when you think about it that way, to just have a couple cook dates to pay for that insurance, and then, the rest of the year, you make the money. So
yeah,
but it's worth it.
And it doesn't take a lot of money to get started as a personal chef. We've talked about in the course that you could get started for $1,000 really, when you look at all the different expenses, even less. But insurance is an important one. The other thing to think about are what are going to be your business processes. So, what happens if a client cancels? How do you bill them? Understand the regular day in and day out processes you'll need as a personal chef. That's another thing that during this design phase you'll firm up. The other thing you're going to do during design is come up with your services and pricing. And so, you're going Bonnie described in the introduction of Personal Chef a standard meal service, which is you go to their house, you cook 3 to 5 meals for their family, and then they, over the course of the week, will reheat from the refrigerator or freezer, depending on the number of meals. That's like this, what we call a standard meal service, but you could also do parties, catering, classes, cooking lessons. So you want to come up with the services, and we suggest start simple. You don't have to do everything right from the beginning. You want to just focus, and then as you get more momentum, then you can start thinking about other services you'd like to offer. And the other thing that we would suggest right off the bat, and again, we talk a lot about it in greater detail in the course, but don't underprice. That's, Bonnie talked about the imposter syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just starting out are saying, well, I'm just starting out as a personal chef. How can I charge what the going rate is when, the average going rate, say in our market's $275. How can I charge $275 for a cook date and I don't even have a client? Well, believe me that when you charge less, people start to wonder why you're charging less. And then they think of you as being not as good as someone else that charges more. So again, it's something to think about, but we see it time and again where people undercharge, wonder why they're not getting the business. And if they just charge at market rate or even more than market rate, they'll see that people automatically are starting to see value in that higher rate.
And that's how I price my services too. I actually started low because of the imposter syndrome. Greg kept telling me to start at a certain amount, and I just said, no, I'm not worthy. I'm going to start here. And I made the final decision. I said, no, I'm going to start below. But I did get a first client, and it was a lot of work. And after that cook date, I started listening to Greg and raised my prices after that cook date. And over the years, it's funny, as I started raising my prices, I started to get more inquiries actually. So that phenomenon where, when you actually do charge more than market rate, people will, and I think we all do it, we equate price with quality. And I got more inquiries, and yeah, of course I have to deliver on it. And luckily, my clients have been happy with me. But it's true. It's definitely true.
Yeah. So the next thing, once you have your service and pricing and everything comes together, then you can start thinking about your website. And a lot of times when people start thinking about a website, it all becomes about the fonts and colors. And really what we coach people on doing is to bring it back to the client. Really, your website is all about your client and helping them solve their challenge. And so if you can design your website around your client, then it'll be that much easier for them to understand what you're all about and embrace what you're all about enough that they'll want to contact you. So focus on the client, focus on your content, which is, and when I talk about that, is what is the words that you're going to use to describe your service? What are the words you're going to use for your bio, for the types of dishes that you're going to offer? All that content needs to be developed first before you start thinking about what colors you want your website to look like. And we want to keep it simple. And the last thing is make it visual. And a lot of times when I talk about making it visual, is not cluttered, and make it simple for people to go through and scan for what they need. And there's a lot of great resources out there to do that in terms of getting a website up and running for you really quickly, fairly easily. The biggest challenge for you will be to get your content together, to get the wording. It shouldn't be about the technical elements. I know a lot of people get really overwhelmed with the technology around a website, but things like Squarespace are making it so easy today for people to launch their own website that looks really good, the more important factor is that content.
Mm-hmm. I have a Squarespace website too.
So that's design. And then launch is when you really are getting close to launching your business. And the first thing that you're going to need to think about doing is conducting some trial cook dates. And the trial cook dates, are a huge opportunity to learn, right?
Yeah. When I decided I wanted to give this a go, I contacted an old friend of mine. She has 4 kids. And I knew that she would love to have food ready for her and her family. So I contacted her and she jumped at the chance. She did pay for groceries, but I went to her house and pretended I didn't know her and just went through everything from start to finish. And then all I asked from them, they did pay for the groceries, and then they gave me critiques of dishes, who liked what, and were very honest and candid. And I did that for a couple months, and
during that couple months, you're still looking for your first client.
Right.
And so, the thing about these trial cook dates is that you can do them a lot leading up to it. And it's never a waste to do a trial cook date, because you learn so much, you get that much better at working through the challenges of the whole cycle of, which we'll talk about shortly, of the cook date. But there's a huge opportunity. And the last thing about trial cook dates is don't get overwhelmed or dejected by the feedback. The feedback is gold. That tells you where areas you can improve. And the people that are helping you, these are your friends. They're cheering you on.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're giving you feedback, that's a good thing to have, because it can make you that much better if you're a first client.
And the thing is, you'll have your trial cook dates, but eventually that first real client will come. And you may think that you need a few more trial cook dates under your belt, but you're going to have to jump in at some point. And you will be nervous. So don't think you have to wait till that nervousness goes away, because you'll always be nervous on that first one. And but you just have to know that you're going to get through it, and to just go in and do your best. And then you'll come home and your client will tell you it was great and they want you to come back, and you'll go back.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So, along those lines, getting your first client and the bigger challenges around that, actually getting your first client, the biggest challenge is just keeping at it. Tenacity is your best tool in getting your first client, which is just how do you keep on at it, because eventually it's going to come. How do you improve? Things that you can do is you need to think about how you're improving your search ranking, because when you launch your site, you may be on page 4 or 5. So how do you get yourself to page 1? You need to get on page 1 of Google search results. And to do that, a lot of times is you can start blogging, and a lot of us, we don't like to write. I personally don't like to write on a regular basis, but I do it. And the idea is that if you can blog, people see that you're active, and as people start seeing more of these blog posts, your traffic will go up on your website, your search ranking will go up on your website. So, there are different types of ways that you can do that. Also, being active in social media, linking back to your website, that can help. So you want to think about how to raise your search ranking. Then you also just want to let everyone know about what you're doing. And of course, a lot of the people that you know aren't going to be, it's not like all your clients are going to be your best friends. That's not what's going to happen. But just like 6 degrees of separation, they may know someone who knows someone who knows someone that winds up being your first client.
Exactly.
And your good friends and family are going to be your cheerleaders. They're the ones that are going to love what you're talking about, and you can make it fun for them, almost like it's your diary of launching your business, and they'll be excited to see, oh, you know, she's going to be doing an event here. You know, we want to cheer her on and, you know, attend or let our friends know. So leverage your own personal, you know, network of friends and family. You'll be surprised at how far that takes you. And then start looking for events. There are a lot of events in your community, either through local grocers or even you doing events with a local farm here in Orange County, right?
Yeah, with Tanaka Farms in Irvine. I work with them at their farm. They have different health days or, you know, different events that I will go to.
Yeah. So you never know where these events are going to be located, but I would encourage you to attend events so you can see what they're like and see which booths are getting the most activity and what they're doing. And then think about what you could be doing with some of these people, and don't be afraid to approach them and say, hey, I'm a personal chef in the area, and this is what I'm all about, because you've developed your story. And that may, you know, and they're going to like your story and say, yeah, we'd love for you to talk at an event that we're doing this month. And that's a great opportunity. And, you know, the last thing is practice, not even just not even trial cook dates, but even doing inquiries. And in one of our coaching sessions, we did a mock inquiry with one of our students, and that was a lot of fun, because you find people are going to call you and say, you know, hi, I need someone to come in and cook for me 5 days a week, you know, and how do you answer that call? And so do it with a friend, and they'll, you know, you'll be nervous at first, but then you'll find out what are the things that you need to get to in those conversations, and the more you practice that, the easier it is when those phone calls come in. And then we'll go over this last part really quick, is that once you've launched, you're now operating, then it's really about the basics of, you know, menu planning for the client and having, you know, a rock solid plan for the next day. I mean, the night before, you go through a process of really understanding.
Right. The night before I go to a cook date, I mean, everybody has their own process. I know other chefs, they prepare for a cook date a week in advance. And to me, it boggles my mind that they would even know the client's menu a week in advance, because my clients aren't like that. But yeah, that would be great. Anyways, I make my lists. I design my list, a paper list, old school list, and I do like to use paper and pen. But I know how Whole Foods and the markets I'm going to are laid out, so I make my list according to the market so I can get in and out in record time. And then I spend most of the time the night before preparing my plan for the day. I don't like to go there cold and just think, okay, what should I do first? I spend a lot of time almost visualizing, and I make sure that I'm doing at least 3 things at one time. You know, I walk in, I turn on the oven, I get a pot of water boiling, or not. It just depends on what I'm making that day. But I just make sure as soon as I'm there, I'm going. And it gets, I'm pretty fast now. I thought I was fast when I first started, but I can multitask with the best of them now. I'm confident of that. Yeah.
And that does get into the last one, which is multitasking. And as you mentioned, that becomes so important. I mean, the other thing is, don't be dejected if your first cook date takes longer than you expected. This process of getting efficient in other people's homes, it's a different animal. I mean, how long did your first cook date take?
Well, I did do a big menu, but it took almost 10 hours, but I was cooking for like 8 people. But yeah, I came home with a big ice pack, driving home with ice on my head. It was it was a big day.
But now,
Yeah.
what do you average on a cook date? How much time?
Well, now I average like 3.5, 4 hours, maybe 4.5 hours, depending. And when I look at that very first cook date, if I were to go in now, it took me almost 10 hours that first cook date. I think I could probably do it in probably 6. But I got to a certain point at that first day, and I could tell I was panicking, and I literally was just doing one thing at a time for the rest of the day. And
but you know that when you got it, that was a good thing, because if you're getting overwhelmed, you just know what's the first thing. Break it down. So it's good. So anyways, that's operate, and then at the end of that, you're now operating as a personal chef. So it's cause to celebrate. So at this point, we've talked about what a personal chef is. We've talked about that roadmap. We're happy to take any questions that anyone has at this point about what it's like to be a personal chef, or what it takes to become a personal chef. I will say that right now we are in the middle of our enrollment period for our flagship course, Becoming a Personal Chef. So if you've been to our site, you can look into that and see what that course is about. The enrollment closes a week from Sunday, and then the next time, if you want to enroll with us, would be in the springtime. So does anyone have any questions they'd like to talk about?
Don't be shy.
Risa is raising her hand. So Risa, there's a Q&A button if you want. And you can ask a question that way, or you can type it in chat if you wanted to. Well, hopefully we covered what everyone wants to hear. And if for some reason you have questions that you think about afterwards, just feel free to email us. You can reach us through our website. But we appreciate everyone tuning in.
Was this helpful at all? Maybe no one has any comments?
Oh. Risa asks, is it better to open a restaurant or to be a personal chef?
Wow. Well, restaurant, I mean, you could probably talk about,
I think,
a storefront versus.
Yeah, I mean, a restaurant is definitely an exciting venture. It's very different from becoming a personal chef. Personal chef, you can get up and running relatively quickly. With a restaurant, you really need to think about finding the restaurant, the location, buying the restaurant from a previous owner. And that can be quite involved. I think both have their joys, right? I mean, just seeing people come into your restaurant can be very exciting. But also as a personal chef, you can get that same level of fulfillment and excitement from seeing families that find you indispensable. I mean, you have clients now that you've been with for how long?
Since I started, really. One of my clients is 5 years I've had. I go twice a week. Another client I've been for 3 years. I go once a week.
Yeah, I mean, they consider Bonnie really an extended part of the family. So there's a lot of self-satisfaction in each. I think they're both great endeavors.
And I think, when you are a personal chef, you're cooking specific to their needs, dietary needs, or their palate. At a restaurant, I suppose you can design your own menu. So, they're two completely different animals, huh?
Yeah. So hopefully we answered that question. Okay, the questions are definitely coming in now.
Oh, okay, good. How do you know where to start on the price?
That's a great question, Risa. And where you start on your pricing, in our course, we offer 3 different ways to arrive at your pricing. And to really quick, one important way is to sort of back into it by looking at how much you want to earn each year and say, what's the minimum I need to earn as a personal chef for this to be worthwhile? Is it, $50,000 a year? Is it, twice that much? It's up to you. And then you can say, ideally, what do I want to be earning too? And you can get sort of a range. And then if you look at how many days you want to work a week versus how many weeks you want to work a year, you can back into what your daily cook date, your daily rate needs to be. And so that's one way. Another way is to look at the market and look at other personal chefs in your area. And if there isn't any other personal chefs in your area, look at neighboring cities that are the similar size as yours and see what they're charging. And again, use that as a starting point and don't underprice. And again, if you want to talk more about that, definitely we can talk about it in the course, but I can talk days on end about not
I mean, we're in
undercharging.
Southern California, and I would say the average price for a starting personal chef in Southern California is probably anywhere from $300 to $350 for a cook date. So that's here in Southern California. I'm not sure where you live, but at least that's how it is here. Might give you an idea.
Okay, this person asks, Bonnie, do you have the equipment you need?
No, do your clients?
Oh, do your clients have the equipment you need, or do you take it with you?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Actually, at the beginning, and still now sometimes, I will bring in equipment, but at the beginning, I used to bring in everything. Now I don't. One client I don't. She offered, after a while, she saw me lugging in all this stuff. She goes, I have this and I have this. And she's got all class. She's got great cookware. And so I took her up on it and I use her things. If she doesn't have something, I'll bring it in. But one thing I do carry is my box. A lot of other chefs carry a roll, but I have a box because I like to bring all my favorite gadgets. Some that actually belong to Greg's mom back in the 60s, but I love, and they don't make anything like it. It's my favorite tool. I should go get it. It's like this little scooper thing. But I do bring my own box with my favorite gadgets in it. I obviously have my own knife. Did I answer that? I did, right?
Yep.
Okay. I gotta get my glasses.
That's okay. And Risa asks, what all should be included in the price?
Well, it depends on the chef, but for me, my price includes, I have a service fee, and then that's my service fee. And then when I present the invoice, I have my chef's service fee, and then underneath will be the grocery amount for that day. So some chefs, they will do like an all-inclusive where it's just one price. It includes the fee, it includes the groceries, but I don't do that because if depending on what they want to eat, it may cost more or less, and then I think when you're all inclusive, then you start thinking about getting the best deal instead of buying the best product. And for me, I like organic. I like the freshest. I always buy vegetables and things that I would buy for myself, not just the cheapest. So service fee plus the grocery amount is the price that the client would pay. That's how I would do it.
So also, do you prep beforehand at your home?
Good question. The answer is no. By law, everything needs to be prepared in the client's home or a commercial kitchen, which my home is not. The reason for that is because even though this is our home, it's clean. We do have dogs, and it's not a place like a commercial kitchen where it's just pristine, no animals, that type of thing. So
in our area now, in other countries it may be different, but I think in most of the U.S., by law, it's according to the health code, you cannot prepare food in your home. Yeah. I think there are some dry goods that you can take to to the client. But just in general, think about it from a liability standpoint, is that if for some reason the client got food poisoning from the food and it showed that it came from your house because you weren't properly maintaining it, that could make you personally liable. That's, it's as much preventative, it's as much for the client as it is for you as well as a safeguard.
Yeah.
Risa asks, you mentioned the cook date. What other types of days do you have? So I'm assuming, what other types of services?
Oh, well, I've done cooking lessons before. I've done parties before, but I don't do anymore. A lot of things I did at the beginning when I first started because I didn't want to say no to anything. I just wanted to do it all and try it all. And then as I became busier and busier, I decided what I wanted to do. And I knew I didn't want to do parties anymore. And anything that's into the late night, I don't like to do. I like to be home and walk the dogs and have our life. So, but yeah, you can do, I've done cooking demos for like Girl Scouts before. There's all kinds of things you can do. But mainly, the chef services, the weekly service.
Some of our clients are getting actually creative. They're looking at not just doing like meal planning, which is another service that a lot of personal chefs do. They just sort of develop the meals and give the recipes that the clients can use. But some of them are actually taking the clients shopping, or they're doing what we're calling a kitchen reset, where they'll go into their kitchen, and especially ones that are, say, focused on whole food, plant-based lifestyle diet, that they'll go into the kitchen and say, okay, this needs to go, this needs to go. You don't need all this extra sugar, all this extra salt, and then look at how things are stored and organized within their kitchen. That's another service that they offer. So really it comes back to what your story is, what you want to do, what you think the clients would value, and then you can offer that in addition to that standard service.
And a lot of times too is you may have a service, but you may get a call from somebody who wants your services, but not exactly what you stated on your website. I think it's up to you as a personal chef is to kind of talk to them and kind of figure out what it is that they need, what challenges are they having. And sometimes you two can work together on something that's specific to them. Like Greg was saying, maybe you can shop with them, maybe you can, and it's not on your website to do that, but hey, I'm up for it if you're up for it. Right. And then it's kind of like, well, how much do you charge for that? Well, I really don't know. Let me figure it out. And then you just, figure it out and let them know. And you just kind of work together on something brand new. So I think the more creative you can be as far as the services you offer, it's fine. It's great. You could start a whole new service. So I've had those phone calls a lot of times, and I'll do something that's not anything on my website, but is specific to them, but they're willing to pay me for it. And sure, I'll try it. And it's worked out. So just be open-minded as a personal chef. Make sure you listen well and you hear their challenges, and you guys make something together.
Yeah, very good. Ashley asked, how do you determine the price of your services? We talked about that just a little bit already. Do you include the price of groceries in the price you give your clients? And you mentioned that already, is that some chefs do, others don't.
Right.
And
I mean, as far as a client, maybe they would say, oh yeah, just one lump sum. But as a personal chef, I don't think you can do your best work almost if you are all inclusive, because you start looking for bargains all the time. So you can make more money as a personal chef. I would recommend, I've always done chef fee plus the groceries is their price they pay that day. And it's always been, then I don't have to worry because I know I'm going to get the best ingredients. The clients are going to pay for it. and the best ingredients will help me make the best food possible.
So Ashley also asked, do you charge or bill them before or after the cook date? Or do you collect an amount before and then rest after to ensure you're paid? And the rest after to ensure you're paid.
I've done it all. I think like when you meet with a new client at the assessment, for them to reserve next week, Wednesday, for you to come, I collect a check that day.
The day of the assessment.
The day of the
assessment. So like a week before the cook date.
Correct. So the day that I meet with them for the assessment and learn about their eating habits thus far, and what am I gonna, what foods do you like to eat? That day I will bring home a check when I walk out of their house, because they've hired me to cook for next week.
I think that's pretty common among personal chefs, is that you'll get a deposit prior to the cook date, and you'll also, with that deposit, give them a grocery estimate. So maybe it's $75 for the cook date. And then
so it's let's say you're charging $300 for your cook date, and you're just going to guess that groceries will be about $75. So on that assessment day, they'll write you a check for $375, and you go home, and then you go the next week, buy the groceries, and groceries were $65. And so then there's a $10 credit going to the client. And you kind of keep track. What I do is that I'll do that method. If my fees are $300 and I've decided their grocery deposit is $75, I'll charge them $375 each week. And then at the end of the month, I true up the receipts, the actual receipts with the deposit each week, plus minus, plus minus. And at the end of the month, they either have a credit or they have a balance due, which I apply the first week of the next month. And then they'll pay more or less that week. But then the rest of the month is $375 for the rest of the month. And I just do the same thing over again.
So there's really many different options. And as Bonnie was alluding to, also for her longer term clients, she even, for those ones that, she's had for 6 years now, she's comfortable with accepting the payment even on the day of the cook day.
Because the mom is home. She doesn't work. So she's usually there when I'm there, and she'll just write me a check that day, and that's fine. And sometimes they're out of town, and they'll write me 2 or 3 checks on another day. So you will get the feel for each client, and it shouldn't be a problem.
Arisa also asked, what's a good estimated price for the startup? And this is what I was alluding to, is that, and we have on one of our blog posts, we actually have a handout of what the pricing is. I can include, when we post up this video, the recorded session on our YouTube channel, I'll have a link to it, and I'll put it on our blog as well. But to answer your question, I would probably estimate $1,000 to $1,500 if would be a good budget. Insurance takes up a large portion of that. You're going to probably pay for your web hosting annual fee up front, as opposed to month, so that's a little bit more. If you need help for designing your website, that could be a little bit more. Similarly, if you need help for the process, like if you were going to take our course, that would cost a little bit more. But I think you could get up and running for $1,500 without doing a lot of advertising, but getting set up in terms of your business and off and running. And we talk about more, a lot more about that in the course. And
as far as what you would take to a client's home, I take a lot of my home stuff. In fact, really everything. So, don't feel like you have to go out and buy all these new pots and pans. And I just take stuff from home. And then as the years went by, then I say, you know what? I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna buy this. But at the beginning, just take what you have at home. You don't have
to spend a lot of money.
Don't spend any money.
The one nice thing though is that now that you're a personal chef, if you do enhance, if you do buy that all-clad pot, part of that you can use that as a deduction on your business because you're taking that to clients' homes. So the cost of some of these additional purchases you're going to start making is offset by not having to pay as much taxes.
Okay. Is that it? Or
one last one from Risa. Do you charge for the cook date, or do you charge for the cook day, or is that the same as the service?
I charge for the service, I guess, because before I used to have 2 clients in one day. They lived actually in the same neighborhood, so I decided I was going to do it. And it made for a super long day for me, and I was exhausted, but I did have 2 cook dates in a day. So the invoice I give is my service fee, the groceries, and then like that particular day, I went to a second client and gave them my service fee and groceries. But
that talks to a very important point that we cover, is that your time is limited in what you can offer a client each week.
Yeah.
And really, when you think about it, any type of service that you provide, it's more difficult to provide multiple services in one day, as Bonnie's describing. So as a personal chef, that means you have maybe 7 days in which to do something. So you got to be really smart in the types of services you're offering. Now, some things maybe you offer, like a meal planning service. It doesn't require you the whole day to do it. You're just sending out an email to somebody with a list of suggested menus and recipes for them to do. That you could stack up with other things that you're doing that day. But in terms of the standard meal service, it gets really hard if you're going to do 2 clients in a day. We know some personal chefs are saying, yeah, I'm young, I'm all in for that, because they want to build up the clientele and build up the business and think about hiring people, and that's there. But think about what you can realistically do with the time that you have.
And I thought about it too. We've crunched the numbers so many times. I have so many people on a waiting list. I thought, oh, what if I rented a commercial kitchen and I could cook for more people in one day? And which I could, but then you'd have to think about everything. And for me, it's all about what time do I get home? I mean, if I have to go in at 8 a.m. and I am on my feet for 8 hours, I'll be a wreck the next day. So I think everyone is different, and you have to find what's right for you. And I have found the right balance for me and my business and my life. But if you're young and you're strong and you're ambitious, you got to try. You got to try all these different things, and then you will find what's right for you.
Very good. Risa, the next question, I'm not sure if I understand it. Maybe you could restate it. Is there a standard farm for the constellations? Oh, are you talking about cancellations, maybe? That there's a standard process for cancellations?
Is there a standard form?
Paperwork. And is it constellate?
There are different forms. I mean, there's an assessment form that I use. I hope I'm answering this right, but there's different forms.
Yeah, maybe there's consultations. So like an assessment. Yeah, talk about the assessment process.
There is an assessment form that I use that I actually share in our course. But it's just the basic questionnaire. And I just try to learn as much as I can about my client and their family and their eating habits and what their dietary goals are or why they hired me. I just really try to know as much as I can so I can better serve them. I also have forms for an agreement, which is nothing binding, but it just kind of states what I expect as a chef from their kitchen, what the kitchen is going to look like. And then to set expectations of me also, or for me.
Right. And also things like cancellations, how do you work through that?
Yeah.
So, that's really the opportunity at the consultation, is to not just get to know each other better, because it's your last chance to back out, either of you, before the first cook date. But it's also a good way to set expectations around how the business works, and a good form can help facilitate that. And it's also, like I said, to get to know them better, so you understand what their allergy concerns are and stuff like that. So yeah, there's standard forms out there, and we provide it as part of the course. Good. I think, yeah, and we're happy to talk more if you have any other questions, but if not, these were great questions, and we're going to post this up on our YouTube channel if you want to take a look at it again. But we really appreciate you sitting in and hearing about what it takes to become a personal chef. Any other questions before we move on? Because actually in less than a half an hour, we have a live coaching session with people from the course. And we're going to talk about the ins and outs of the cook date. So if we don't see you soon with the next quarter, maybe we'll see you in the spring.
But thanks for tuning in.
Oh, thanks, Risa.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for your questions and your interest.
Yeah, really great questions. Okay, everyone. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Bye.